Okay, so this might be a little out of order. Bear with your boy Phil, okay? I've been a little busy, but I got it all. If you guys don't see here, I got a whole treasure trove in here to celebrate. This is a celebration, okay? And with it, we got to give some Disturbed, okay? AEW is now on the air from Champaign, Illinois. Tony Khan's hometown. This is great. It'll be amazing. Okay, so the great Brian Last says, I told the truth. Everyone knows Dave Scherer has always been jealous of Meltzer. This is not new. Well, it's new to me, folks. He knew who I was when he blindly emailed me his idiot thoughts on the stock market. Okay, I don't know what he's talking about, but that's funny. Pretends he's a big shot. Oh, doesn't everybody? Everyone tells me he's a line cook. Okay, but like, if he is, like, and you know what I mean, dude? I saw a video of like Young Jock, the rapper, I think, driving Uber. You know what I mean? Are we going to shame people, Brian? That's kind of cringy. Okay. Tell him to go work on my steak. Dave Scherer says, I have no idea why pay-to-play Brian Last took a shot at me today. I didn't even know who the guy was before he paid to play with Jim Cornette. Okay, now David Scherer going rank on Last, and he said this first. So this is kind of calling him paid to play. What is that in reference to? Like how he like pays wrestlers to do a show and stuff like that or something, or like to do podcasts with him? I have no idea. We're gonna decipher this as we go. He sure as hell didn't know me in 1995. They're arguing about 95. Then again, he was partners with Bixenspan before he dumped him for Cornette. So, okay, so Bixenspan is a goober, right? We all agree. As John Moxley makes his return in Champaign, Illinois, to an empty row of people, standing literally next to an empty row of people. Sorry, not trying to be rude, but that's what it is. Anyways, so chat, what are we talking about here with I don't know, they're both taking these personal jabs. They clearly both know each other and they're trying to talk like they don't know each other, right? Okay, for pay to see content. Okay, yeah. Here we go. I have no idea. Oh, sorry. I already read that one. Okay. Sorry, guys. I'm also glancing over at the television. So Brian Last responds and says, the frumpy bitch who used to be the ECW house shill. I don't know what that means. Okay. Who the hell is Dave Scherer? Excuse me. So Brian Last continues and goes, pardon me, guys. Big bitch Scherer starting again. I sat next to the mustached wimp. Oh my God. At the ECW arena a few times. So this is like 90s beef, man. Maybe he is losing his memory the way he accuses Meltzer of losing his. He started the lariat when he was friends with Meltzer. I found out about it when it was mentioned in the Wrestling Observer newsletter. Okay. And then he said he sat next to me, which I don't remember, and that means he knows me. I wasn't friends with Meltzer. I started the lariat in 95 because Meltzer was lying to Rubes. Like you, Brian, anyone with a brain knows the real story, which no, they keep going like everybody knows this. And it's like, nobody knows this. At least I don't, Chad. Am I ignorant? I'm like, I don't know about any of this. So let's continue. And sorry if I'm cutting out, dude. It's storming here and my internet's it cut out literally like 3-4 times today already. So I apologize if I'm a little Robetronic, to steal Jack Black's joke. So he sat next to me. I don't remember. Okay, we read that one. Dave Scherer says, this is my last post on Brian Last, since he just tweeted that I threatened to write a hit piece on him if he didn't change his slogan. Here's the email from myself, Brian, Mike J, and Jim Cornette. As you can see, it's friendly and no threats were made. Last is a liar. So this part has popped me. So Scherer, do I read these emails? This feels so like gross. You know what I mean? Hey, Jim, and I guess Brian. Like they're already going at it. They don't like each other back then, here's 2023 or whatever. I got another question about it today. It specifically asked about Brian saying no paywalls and mentioned that the slogan is on his site too. Since Brian didn't answer here, I can't really say anything publicly other than Brian didn't answer. So is Brian last slogan no paywalls and then he has shows with paywalls? Because if that's the case, like, I'm sorry, but like, he has tons of free content as well, Brian does. So if he uses free content to then also have a paywall thing, there's nothing wrong with that. It's people's choice whether or not they want to, support or get involved with that. But if it's like, if his thing's like, I'll never make you pay, and then he's making people pay, then that's a whole other story. But again, I don't know what the truth is. Chad will have to smarten me up here. Didn't answer what I was asked, and he didn't answer me. So I'm guessing David Scherer's like, hey, Brian, your slogan's this, but you make people pay. Okay. I guess my body odor makes it all the way to wherever he lives. Seriously, I don't want to make this into something, so I will just respond to elite subscribers in email and ignore the free site readers that ask. Whatever the case, if there is no issue, cool. If there is an issue, well, that paywall is the reason Mike and I can pay our bills. I will never apologize for making sure Mike and I get paid for our hard work. Yeah, never do. Hi, Dave. Brian and I were on the phone when I answered you, so I told him I was replying to you. Nothing to do with your stunning BO. There's no issue. It's an advertising line. Send us the names of everyone who asked this question, and we'll cuss them out in public on our next show. This is ridiculous for these people to be bugging you with their... Yeah, and JC's just like, okay, what do you want? Like, okay, you're getting asked about... We'll roast them. You know what I mean? And just understand it. Like, so it's just like a slogan, okay. Like, my slogan on my YouTube is the best pro wrestling clips on the internet and the best wrestling podcast on the internet. Is that true? I mean, that's subjective, right? So it's just a slogan. So you can't call me out for if you don't think it is, So yeah, I'm with JC there all the way. So moving along, guys. So Brian Last goes, stop being a lying cunt. Sorry, YouTube. Dave, own up to your insecurity. It isn't my fault that your business is on the way out. It's yours. Now it's getting ugly. Why are you afraid to admit to people that you were Meltzer's friend until you became jealous of him? Okay, now we need to... there has to be proof of the jealousy. Otherwise, friends fall out all the time. And I could see why an ex-friend would be like calling out an ex-friend or something. You know what I mean? So jealousy remains to be seen. We'll discover as we go. And here are your first two emails you left out. Here we go. Hey, y'all. Hope you're doing well. I've had a number of people ask me, including in the Q&A, if you guys are taking a shot at PWInsider.com when you talk about your site and say that nothing is behind a paywall. Bro, that could be a myriad. Dude. That could be Fightful. That could be anyone, man. If you take personal offense, Dave Scherer, you should not be taking personal offense to that. It's like, don't let that apply to you if it doesn't apply to you. And if people are asking you, then ignore them or just say, no, they're not, or I'll ask them. And then we'll see what happens. So maybe he is being nice and asking, but like, why even go out of your way, dude? To even like worry about this. That's pretty crazy. I know you aren't, obviously. Well, then if you know you aren't, then don't ask them, or send screenshots of all the and then be like, here's what people are saying. Can you just clarify this? Or, hey, I'll come on your show and let's clarify that, or whatever. You know what I mean? I know you aren't, obviously, and I write each person that asked me that back and say that we love you guys and have a great relationship. To make my life easier, could you drop that line from your promos? Dude, no. Yeah, dude. Okay. Now it's like you got away on the corny last side so far, because, and hold on, I love Dave Scherer. You guys know this, but hold on. You can't ask someone to change the way they do because you're feeling some type of way about the way, and it's not direct. If you know that you guys are cool, then don't assume otherwise. And if it's making you feel some type of way, cut them out. Don't even do all this. So I don't know. And I'm not blaming Dave for just asking a question and being like, no, we're cool. But then to go on and say, yo, can you please remove that from what? Like this, from like, that's like telling The Rock, hey man, I really stink in real life. So can you not go, can you smell what you're cooking, bro? Like, like almost, maybe not to that degree. I'm not saying that promo line they use is worth as much money as a good old, if you smell a la, but you guys know what I'm saying with that, right? Like, It's like that's, I don't know. To me, I'd be like, no. Anyways, Dave goes again and says, did you guys get this? If you want to keep up the paywall comments, just let me know so I can answer the question once on the site and be done with it. But no, dude, because so Dave's already asserted that in his own mind, if they don't change that line, then then that means it's a barb at him. Now, provided this is 3 days later, so respond to him, but also I tell you guys to email me and I don't get back to them all, because if I open my inbox, which I won't do on air, I have so much emails, it's crazy. And not just from your guys, but others like Apple, I'm going back and forth with for like a year, which finally, guys, by the way, you don't have to manually put the RSS feed in if you're on Apple Podcasts. We're just on Apple Podcast. Let's go here. We'll give Apple finally acknowledged us.
Acknowledge me.
It took like a year. I just couldn't get verified. It was the dumbest ever I had to do. I don't even want to explain what it ended up being at the end of it all. And it wasn't like an oversight. It's just like a weird glitch in their matrix of, I don't know. It's weird. I had to go through Reddit posts. It was a wild year trying to get on Apple, to say the least. Anyways, enough about me. More on these guys. So, okay, I don't know. I'm not like choosing sides here. I'm just being the observer. Shout out Dave Meltzer. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I'm just observing here. I'm neutral here. I like all these gentlemen, and this is very personal, so it's not like, oh, this guy's holding L's or whatever. But Dave shouldn't have asked them to change their slogan in the first place. That's weird. But he goes, yeah, so we read that. Check this out. Lion Brian posted this as proof that I threatened to write a hit piece on him. So, okay, yeah. So maybe you could interpret that as a threat to be a hit piece, but it doesn't seem threatening at all. Like saying, I'm just going to answer the question to the people on the site, but I see how Brian could interpret that as like, nah, they're going to, write it into a blog trashing us or something. But at the same time, that's not the vibe I got from it. But again, this isn't personal to me. So Dave Scherer says, I was told my business is failing and I have no idea how to invest money. So I feel extra lucky that I was able to somehow come up with the money to see Bruce for the second time in 3 nights before I leave my shore house for my home in Las Vegas. Imagine if I were competent. Jesus Christ, bro. Do you have to flex any harder? Some of us don't even own a house, let alone a shore house and a home in Vegas. So no, flex your dude. It's all good. But yeah, okay. And your business isn't failing. And even if you own a business and are a line cook, shout you out. Damn, it's hard to tell. Now I got tagged in a bunch of stuff here. So here's David Death Music, David Dexter, who's a great PWT, like day oneer, man, like early days, 10 subs days. He's one of them for real. So Brian Last and Jim Cornette, here, this person, I guess, made a video. Maybe I'll circle back to this because this is apparently just like a recap of everything. But I want to actually watch the Jim Cornette and hear Brian's stuff if you guys are into that. Ishii's fighting Hangman, so, and the camera just blacked out in the middle of the broadcast, so, and I'm not kidding. That's what's going on Dynamite. So Brian Last goes, I'll remind you again, dickless. I'm the man you cried about in emails to Cornette after I exposed you. I'm the man you tried to get to engage you in financial talk. Okay, he keeps going back to that. I'm the man whose no paywall causes you to act like the bitch you are. Rebrand. PWInsider is a 0. Damn. Thank you. Whoever he is can keep acting like a child. No worries. Damn. You guys clearly know each other. Stop pretending. Both of you. Tisk on the pretensies. Okay, so we're going to jump over to YouTube. We're going to share this tab. This is a long This is a long ass video here. So let's listen to it, and I'm gonna give my thoughts. I'm gonna show you out too, Jim Cornette. Like, don't YouTube strike me for that. Don't Don Stevens me. Sorry, pardon me. We got to use code names. No, but yeah, I'm a neutral party. I'm gonna give my thoughts, and this is a long one, so I don't have timestamps or anything. If anybody does, that would be cool if anybody can maybe tag me. But I'm just going to hit play and see where this goes for the most part.
Jim, if you don't mind, I have something to say here. Recently, there's been a little bit of a back and forth on Twitter with myself and someone who most of you probably don't know. His name's Dave Scherer. He is a guy.
So I am saying it right.
Who used to have a newsletter. He was an ECW fan in the bleachers. He then started a website in the early 2000s and seemingly never worked on it ever again after that. Started a website back then and has been really riding the coattails of the fantastic reporting of Mike Johnson, who does a very good job and seems to be rather diligent in what he does. Problem is, he works for a guy named Dave Scherer. Dave Scherer, I knew a little bit in the 90s. He's made this into a little bit of a big deal that I claim I knew him and he doesn't know me. Yeah, someone else told me a similar story about him too. But in the 90s, when I was a teenage fan going to different things.
You guys were teenagers, dude. I don't remember people I went to high school with. For real, like, it's crazy. This is a wild argument. For two dudes, like, to be even having at this stage in their lives. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, shout out Mike Johnson, for real. He does do his diligence, and he's great. He's great. That's why I on PWInsider, because it's like now that's reflective on Mike Johnson, and he's great.
I got to know lots of different people. And not only did I know Dave Scherer, not only did I sit next to him in the ECW arena, not only was he in my hotel room making phony phone calls with us, you could ask Devin Storm about that, but when I made my famous Bubba Must Die sign that I held up when Bubba Ray Dudley was a babyface in the ECW arena with my bed sheet from the hotel room and red marker, he was one of the people who helped me hold it up because he knew I had the sign because I brought it because he was scared to do anything. Because it was hanging out with Scherer and everyone and hearing how everyone hated Bubba Ray Dudley for real, not because he was a babyface. They didn't like him. Everyone was afraid to do anything, but they wanted to send a message to Heyman. I did something.
Well, and I remember that caused quite a stir.
And I did something. And Scheerer's in the video holding it up with me. But again, a long time ago, I kind of did other things.
It's crazy that Brian Last was the dude who made that sign. Legend.
Scherer kept doing what he was doing. Did some stuff with Bob Ryder, I know. So all these years later, he has this PWInsider website, which is one of the many wrestling news websites. It has a paywall where you subscribe and you get access to, I guess, their content without just an endless stream of suspicious-looking ads. I don't know what is happening on that website. You can get stuck on that website.
I tried to look at the basic one again, and I'm like, what the is going on here?
It could cause epilepsy. It's just a flash mob of weirdo ads. But anyway, that's what he does. We do this. I do my thing. In case anyone hasn't noticed, I just do my thing. I'm gonna
do my thing. Is that Miley Cyrus? Babe, is that my... Yeah, that's Miley Cyrus. Okay.
Other people, I do my thing. But if you take a jab at me, I'm going to take out my Uzi and I'm going to spray the room over and over and over again.
Okay. Shooting up the club. Babe, who's that, T-Pain? Yeah. Jesus Christ. I'm going to pull out my Uzi. Okay, who else tells a Uzi? Isn't it like Eric Bischoff and Sonny Ono or whatever? Talking about answering the door with an Uzi. And okay, calm down. Now, he doesn't mean it literally, obviously. But figuratively, he's gonna Uzi everyone if they come at him. So please, Brian Last, reserve your Uzi for me. I'm simply Uatu here. I'm just observing. And yeah, Wilkins is like, all right, these guys just don't like each other. And clearly it's because for something like deeper than maybe someone's willing to admit. Let's just continue along and see where we go with this, guys. I'll call the action. Ishii's about to superplex Hangman. It's been going for far too long already.
So We have nothing to do with Dave Scherer. You always said very nice things about his website and, of course, Mike Johnson's reporting.
Because Mike Johnson is the nicest man in the world. And yes, we've always said nice things about the elite site. Let's make it plain.
Right. And at various points, they gave me a comp because they wanted us to talk about, the website over there and give them free publicity, which we did for, a little while when talking about stories that they wrote or Mike Johnson wrote.
We were happy to do it.
So somewhere along the way, Dave Scherer thought he should send me his thoughts on the stock market. It was, let me pull up the email here, because it was like, I heard that you like investing. Let me get the exact quote, because it's the one that I started laughing about with people.
Dude, he's trying to be friends with you, Brian. What the man? Are you really? Is this how this whole thing started? You're about to tell me that he tried to reach out and be like, "Hey, I'm really into investing too, and you're into investing, and let me." He just, man, I could tell y'all stories. Years ago, I met one of my idols who, like, I was on a similar platform at. I would just say that. I don't know how to explain it, right? Like someone that I'm like seeing eye to eye with, but someone that realistically I idolize. And I fumbled and bumbled and dumbled. They say don't meet your heroes because they're an asshole. Don't meet your heroes if you're if you're gonna make an ass out of yourself. You know what I mean? That's another thing. So Scherer made a little ass out of himself, just trying to reach out to you about some investing stuff, trying to be friendly, more than just a hey, plug art and I'll give you a free thing. Like you're a prominent figure and like maybe I could come on the show or something. Who knows if that's what his end game was, but he's trying to be friendly, and you so far you were laughing about it with other people. That's kind of dude, but we're all not perfect. I understand. So let's just see where this goes. But my first reaction's like, come on, dude. He's just trying to reach out, man. He just bumbled around. He just looks up to you and wanted to find a way in to bro down with you. You know what I mean? I'm sure you guys know what I mean.
Hold on. If I remember correctly, you have done very well financially. I have too, thanks to, indirectly, Meltzer, and more so, investing. Are you an investor? I don't do day trading, so I miss out on the Robinhood stuff, but I love to invest and watch wealth grow. Look, at this point, I was like, I don't want to talk.
Yeah, I wouldn't respond to that either. I'm back on Brian last. It's like a roller coaster here, folks. You don't know who I'm going with.
Financial with this schlubby boob. I know Dave Scherer. I know who he is. He's a moron. I would never, nor would I think anyone else should ever take financial advice from him or share financial advice with him or do anything in that realm with him. So again, knowing that you have a good relationship with them, I try to be courteous and I just say I've done fairly well. I'm an investor, not a trader. I'm not a fan of the Robinhood-like companies. Then he sends me a whole nother thing about his thoughts on the stock market. Then he sends me some newsletter he wants me to subscribe to because he gets his stock tips from there. At that point, I stopped responding because
yes, because
that's annoying and silly.
We had things going on. I can't remember. You were telling me this concurrently that it was going on. Was that when your dad was sick or you were moving the house or whatever? You don't have time.
This is just unsolicited. Why is he sending me this? Why is this guy who I don't have anything to do with sending me his financial advice and wanting me to get this new, like, what the is this? So that's that. I drop it. Move on.
Just drop it. Move on.
So then all of a sudden, a while later, an email comes to you and me and Mike Johnson from Dave Scherer. It's an email entitled Quick Favor.
Can I take over for a second here? Because I want to read.
Don't forget this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we're going live for TNA Emergence, Bash in Berlin, and NXT No Mercy. Your boy loves the grind. Here's Jim Cornette.
Yeah.
Certainly.
I want to read that particular email. This is from Dave Scherer. This was back in the middle of June 19th. Hey all, hope you're doing well. I have had a number of people ask me if you guys are taking a shot at PWInsider.com when you talk about your site and say that nothing is behind a paywall. He's talking about the Wrestling News daily free podcast, 10-minute wrestling news report that the tagline of the advertising, Brian, tell me if I misquote this, is no clickbait, no paywall, just the wrestling news.
That's right. And I think it's a rather effective line, if I say so myself.
It's kind of succinct and says it. Well, Dave Scherer continues, I know you aren't, obviously. And I write each person that asks me that back and say that we love you guys and have a great relationship. Like there's this plethora of emails coming in his demented mind, as we will find out here shortly.
Yeah,
Like
you can tell it's insecurity. Like there's not a bunch of emails coming in, maybe one or two, maybe three or four. Maybe it's mostly in his mind. That's sort of the vibe I got too. Like he just seems sort of paranoid about something that it's like, well, why are you applying that to yourself? They enjoyed sort of working with you, but you got upset that Brian didn't respond to your stock market emails. So then it turned into all this. I don't know. We're going to continue. It's a long video.
Like, I got to write back to all these kids.
I've got to write back to all these children who might be. And he goes on further. He says, to make my life easier, could you drop that line from your promos? It would be greatly appreciated. Thanks. So when this email comes in, we were recording that day. And you said, did you see this email? And I said, yes, I do. I am gobsmacked that he would even think, and that obviously nobody was asking. If they were trying to stir up. You ought to know that too. Well, hey, Brian, how many websites are there in the world you think has a paywall?
Oh, I mean, there's tons of websites with paywalls and endless.
What do you
plus
think?
Patreon technically is a paywall.
Yeah, so you think 20 million, 40 million, whatever this 10-minute daily wrestling newscast is going to be confused as taking a shot at his entire goddamn site that has an elite section or whatever and just change your advertising, Brian. Even though we don't say anything like that.
Yeah, just do me a quick favor. You haven't heard from me since the random stock thoughts. Just change everything about your business because I think you should. What? Get the out of here.
So that was your reaction. And I said, look, I don't want to make Dave mad because we like Mike Johnson and he'll get caught, whatever. I'll answer him, right? Because he didn't want to read the email that you were going to write.
Yeah, no, if I would have answered him, he would have jumped off a bridge. Trust me.
Well, but also that's when I was busy and I had going on.
Oh, man, that's funny.
So 2.5 days later, he writes back, did you guys get this? If you want to keep up the paywall comments, just let me know so I can answer the question once on the site and be done with it. If you haven't heard from us,
guys, 260 of you guys watching, run those likes up to 100. What are we doing here, B? I want to see like 150. We're at 75. Run those likes up.
Means no, we're not going to change our advertising or your advertising or whoever's advertising. But why does he need to answer the question that nobody gives a about except him?
Well, there's the other issue. And I will say by this point in time, this whole email exchange, I had heard from people the thought that seems to be a consensus amongst many that Dave Scherer, I guess he does like a column on his own website where he answers questions. The thought is he writes the questions and answers them. There's never a name attributed. There's never a hometown or a website or a screen name or nothing. It's basically Dave answering questions that are written like Dave would write them, answering questions that he wants to answer.
So you're saying he's pulling the old Mike Lano. And I think that's an apt analogy. He's answering questions that he wants to answer because he has started, you don't read them, but he has started having a gimmick where he says, I don't worry about these people because they don't mean anything to me. As you're going to find out, ladies and gentlemen, this obsesses over some. So he wrote, did you guys get this? Blah, blah, blah. So I wrote back, hi, Dave, sorry for the late reply. And I wrote back that same day that he wrote the second one. We're both having a hectic week. I think someone is with you. You guys are literally the only news site we ever quote, reference, or put over. And we do it by name constantly, telling people to trust PWInsider. So I think this may be some Cucamonga kids starting a campaign to get 8 between us. Do answer the question on the site and flame the people for making up obvious where none exists, just like their journalistic hero.
Or just admit you made up the whole thing about getting tons of things that you have to respond to everyone one by one and explain that, oh no, we're great friends. What?
Well, hold on. He writes me back that same day. Jim, I heard your voice in my head when I read that and I laughed out loud. You're probably right on the money there. There are so many trolls out there. Uncle Dave, man, what a fall for that guy. All good here. Hope the same for you. And then he can't leave it alone. So I'm going to read one more email and then my response, and then you can tell people, Brian, what he then did.
Well, again, we thought that that diffused it. He realized he's being a fool and we'd all move on now.
We can move on. Then he writes me back 3 days later.
Swerving Hangman again. Yippee.
Hey, Jim, parenthetically, and I guess Brian, because you had not answered him yet because of aforementioned reasons why.
Yeah, because I was going to tell him what I thought of him and his wife and everyone else around him. I was going to really let him have it, but I was a nice guy, so I stayed back.
Don't say anything about his dog. I won't stand for that. Anyway, so Dave says, I got another question about it today. It specifically asked about Brian saying no paywalls and mentioned that the slogan is on his site too. Imagine that, Brian, your advertising slogan is on your website as well as in your podcast.
Shocking.
Since Brian didn't answer here, I can't really say anything publicly other than Brian didn't answer when I asked and he didn't answer me. I guess my body odor makes it all the way to wherever he
It's just funny hearing him read what I already just read and his interpretation of it.
lives. Seriously, I don't want to make this into something.
You're the only one making it into something.
You're the only one, you fat-headed piece of... Give me more goddamn to worry about when I got going on already. So he said, seriously, I don't want to make this into something, so I'll just respond to elite subscribers in email and ignore the free site readers that ask. There's nobody asking. It's stupid. And he finishes, whatever the case, if there is no issue, cool. If there is an issue, well, that paywall is the reason Mike and I can pay our bills. I will never apologize for making sure Mike and I get paid for our hard work. Nobody's asking you to, moron.
Yeah, dude, he just took that way too personally. And also, Jim's already saying it. It's you guys know I don't want to be like fat-headed, dumb, all this Jim saying, obviously, but he's just taking it personally and he is creating it. He's making an issue out of something that shouldn't. He's creating it all in his head, is what I'm trying to say. You know, it's just like he's getting insecure about whatever. And then he's like even being defensive about it. They didn't ask. They said it's nothing to do with you, whatever. And obviously, like Jim and Brian, I think, could have like squashed this a little quicker and just been like, nah, man, it's cool. Don't worry, blah, blah, blah. However, I get where you're like, oh, this guy's kind of a weirdo. And with that stock market, I get why Brian would be like, well, I just don't even really want to message this guy at all about this. He's being weird again. Like, well, I don't want to deal with weird. I totally get that because I get lots of DMs too. And, you know, some people can be weird sometimes or you just don't gel with them. Let's put it that way. So I try to be nice here. I'm PWT, okay?
Imbecile. So
right when I unpause it, Jim's name calling imbecile, plebeian. Oh man, it's funny. Yeah, let's just let Jim go on here.
Back to him. Hi, Dave. Brian and I were on the phone when I answered you before, so I told him I was replying to you. Nothing to do with your stunning BO. There is no issue. It's an advertising line. Send us the names of everyone who's asked this question, and we'll cuss them out in public on our...
Yeah, and Dave saying like, oh, the public people saying this, I'll ignore. But then the private people, I'll explain it to them. And it's like, what the does that even mean? That's so weird, man. That's so weird.
Next show. This is ridiculous for these people to be bugging you with their... I'm still trying to... Like he's a goddamn Alzheimer's patient locked up in a home, and I'm still trying to humor him that there's somebody asking this.
It's his friend George Glass.
And I thought, no, he actually wrote me back on this one. Trust me, the dopes out there bug me with sillier than this. There are a lot of freaks out there in the world. I don't keep a list of the losers. See, it's his gimmick. He has to. But the latest good one was named Billy Walkerwitz. Feel free to bury him because given some of the other emails he has sent me, he seems like the product of a brother and sister banging in the woodshed. So that's the way he thinks about the listeners. But nevertheless, we put it to bed. We thought it was done. We thought it was over with. So he does a Q&A, and Brian, what does he say?
Apparently, because it was sent to me, because I don't pay for that site. It was sent to me. He had a bunch of nasty things to say about me, about how worthless I am as a co-host, and how Cornette would do better with random people from his website that you've never heard of. And
he has never heard of, he doesn't know you. He never heard of you. You're a nobody, and anybody could do your job. Jim Cornette's great, so anybody could do your job. I've done things with other people than you. They weren't great.
No, I'm the best at this.
That's funny. That's pretty funny.
Well, but nevertheless, but instead of just, look, we're trying to tell you we're not changing this goddamn advertising. Brian's not changing. It's not even my advertising. Brian's not changing this advertising, but we're trying to be nice to you. And you keep harping on this. And now you're pissed off because people don't email you back because you wouldn't want to read the goddamn answer. We're trying to be nice. And he makes an issue where none exists and goes on his site and calls you a nobody, that anybody can do your job and blah, blah, blah. And then is wondering why you have made sideways comments on occasion about him since then.
Well, not on a...
Yeah, it's also personal. Here's the thing, without knowing the whole stock market aspect of it, you don't, like, just on the surface, like, because at the beginning I was like, damn, these guys are just going at it, because I just see it from the Twitter spat, right? And then, like, when we started this, I just read all the tweets first. But then when you hear the background of, like, yeah, all the stock markets, yeah, that would have cringed me out too a bit. Without knowing the that stock market, yeah, it kind of seems like Brian was being an ass, but I have yet to hear anything other than that kind of cringy, oozy remark, but whatever. It is like, even though he didn't mean a literal oozy, right, guys? So you got to understand that too. But so far, I'm not hearing anything that makes me go like, oh, last. And somebody super chatted in, was like, I unsubscribed from all the gym stuff. Nothing's pushed me to that limit yet personally. There's still more to go though. So we will listen here. We will move along.
Occasion on air, I've made two. One wasn't him, it was the website. Making a joke about getting stuck on his website. You see, his website is an embarrassing mess, and anyone who visits it will have a really awful experience. It's almost like someone who pretends he's successful really isn't, and doesn't put a dime of any alleged success into said product to fix it, make it better, make it more accessible, make more money. It's almost like he doesn't understand how to make money. We'll talk more about that in a bit. But yeah.
All right, but anyway, I'm not going to read because that was June last year as this went on.
Yeah.
And
yeah, that's what's crazy. Over a year ago, they're still pissed. And then they're talking about when they were teenagers. Harley Cameron just slipped on the top rope and then Hater saved her. I'm a poet and didn't know it. Oh.
And I didn't say a word until...
We didn't say anything about it because why? Because it's stupid. But he has continued. I'm not even going to read them all, but I've gone back here to April. This is when he wrote 10 paragraphs because what I'm about to tell you. One time a couple of years ago, I had said, oh, we're going to reference this article on PWInsider. And you just tried to pop up the website and went to the free one instead of the pay one. And it froze your computer because things are popping and flashing and it looks like goddamn a slot machine. And I laughed at you because you were cussing and goddamn it, and it held up our recording. So then back in April, we were talking about one of those Hindu websites that we got stuck on, or you got stuck.
Snowflakes. Dude, You're in here triggered over people e-fapping a video. Goof. Anyways, and thank you, mods, for just whatever. Yeah, time is bitch ass out. You can come back in here when you know how to behave. All right, little babe? Kisses.
That's
on.
right.
He couldn't get out of it.
That's right. Yeah.
And then you said it's like being on PWInsider. And
Ain't a democracy, bitch.
we went on. He wrote me a goddamn 10-paragraph email.
Oh my God.
Saying, I'll tell you who didn't pop for it. Because he wrote me first. What the? And I said, it was a joke. And this is what happened before. And then he said, well, my wife didn't pop for it. She now hates Brian Last's guts now that he cares.
Well, my wife didn't like your tagline.
Because you said, I was stuck on the website. Well, this guy.
She's a listener. This is news to me.
She walked in the room, he said, when I played the clip.
Good timing.
And he's ranting and raving about this. And again, he's the one who started it. Listen to this. I'm deeply offended and pissed off about the knife you let Last put in our backs. He's a drama queen.
There's no hours.
So anyway, oh yeah, we were stabbing Mike Johnson in the back too. So anyway, then.
Well, here's the thing though. On PWInsider does reflect Mike Johnson, though. So it's not stabbing him in the back, but it's like, you gotta understand how that's sort of slinging mud on him too there. Corny, and I'm sure he does, but yeah, it's just they just don't like each other. God damn it, there's no two ways around this. You know, it's a deep rooted thing. We're gonna keep going here. I know little triggered baby whatever in the chat couldn't handle it. We might wrap up this segment of it soon, unless there's a lot more juice later in it. But basically, we're getting the gist of what's going on. As far as him not knowing how to invest, I don't give a shit about any of that because that was silliness. So we're gonna keep going, but once Brian's, or unless that's a key component to all of this, and unless that's what triggered everyone. But so far, Brian didn't really piss me off yet. You know what I mean? I'm indifferent. I'm just like, okay, these guys personally, whatever, and Scherer is taken too personally and cringed these guys out. And now I'm like, damn, I'm still going to laugh at Scherer's roasting, and I want to know why he's jealous of Meltzer. Let's continue to watch along here.
When we were talking about Uncle Dave the other day, Uncle Dave Meltzer, as opposed to Uncle Dave Scherer, and you let loose with that he's always been jealous of Dave Meltzer, and I could give it less, but you made the comment, and now not only is he mad at you, but he's mad at me because I must agree with him that I've always hated him, and he's always been a piece of, but I was just suckering him like a mark to use him for publicity. Oh, hell. And he's a goddamn mental case. And he will not stop now. He is emailing back and forth and back and forth. Hold on. Let me go to the bottom of this thing.
Yeah, and just for the record, I said what I said for a reason.
Start is in WBD, it's Lionsgate. Okay, but then what? It was attached to a streamer. Okay? It was attached to like one of these apps, Crave or something. Like I'm in Canada, so it's different here, you know, like there's no like Peacock and all that. So whatever it was attached to is like a Warner thing, I believe, and it was just buried on Stars. But yeah, shout out Lionsgate, they do great work.
True. I was talking about the people that, you know, Jim and Dave knew each other and the issues they had stemmed from that, and I saw it. Dave Scherer has personal issues with Dave Meltzer because he's jealous of him. He now denies that he was friends with Meltzer. We've literally...
Okay, prove he was jealous of him, please and thank you.
Heard from people already that were like, oh yeah, I went to the ECW arena with Meltzer and he introduced me to Dave Scherer and we all sat together and had a great time. Yeah, it was surprising to me that he doesn't know who I am.
We're not going to mention anybody's name in public, but he would recognize, old Dave Scherer would recognize some of these names. But nevertheless, he wrote... Again, as I told you before, and you vehemently denied, for some issue I don't know about, Last has a major hard-on for me. I don't even know the guy. Blah, blah, blah. So at least tell the truth. The issues are one-sided. I don't know the guy, so I don't care about him. That's his big line. Apparently, he cares about a lot of people.
You care a lot. I'm in your head, baby. I'm in your head, baby.
I turned the other cheek once on this, and what happened? You let your employee punch me in the face again. And then he sends me a screenshot of you guys going back and forth on Twitter and say, hey, Jim, either you lied to me or Brian lied to you. I told you all along the guy had an issue. So I wrote him back, and here's what I wrote him back, because I'm not having a goddamn good week. Dave, I was trying to stay out of this ridiculous, but I'm having a bad day. You emailed us asking Brian to change his advertising on his Wrestling News podcast because of some reason. You had to have made up that people were thinking no paywall was a shot at you. I emailed you back in a friendly way to try to point out how ridiculous that was. Brian didn't email you back because it struck him wrong, and you wouldn't have wanted to read it. Even when I replied a second time that I had emailed for both of us because we were talking when we read your email, you got pissed that Brian didn't email you back, and you exhorted that you would have to address this pressing issue that no one gave to about in your Q&A. Then you say in your Q&A that I'm great, but you don't know who Brian is. He's nobody, and anybody could do his job. At that point, it was game over with Brian, and I don't blame him. The whole thing came out of you sending an email asking a stupid thing, and then apparently getting pissed because Brian didn't email you back to tell you how stupid it was. Now I'm in the middle of this childish for no reason other than because I always tried to help your site, and I like you guys, but I have to go through you publicly burying my co-host because of the advertising line you don't like. That had nothing.
So Jim actually indulged him this much, which is crazy to me, man, that he actually responded to all this. MJF's in the ring with a different colored scarf, and he's just I don't know, mad and wants his belt back or whatever. We'll see if anything interesting happens.
Nothing to do with your business. Whether you like it or not, that's Brian's issue. It started there, and apparently yours did too, and neither one of you is over it. And it's ridiculous it's gotten this far, and now you're sending me screenshots of tweets like a demented schoolgirl, and I don't give a And he had called you on Twitter, pay to play Brian, like you pay me to do this show.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. After I made that brief comment at the end of the Dave Meltzer segment, he then started tweeting about me. That's when I said, oh, no.
Yeah.
Here's some batting practice with this knucklehead.
Well, and that's it. I said, what is the pay to play? Like he's paying me? I will say that he is, and this is true, and I'll come out and say this.
We'll pay great attention to Ricochet's match. How about that?
You, being my partner, you have made me more money with this podcast over the last several years than I made working for Vince McMahon and Jim Crockett combined. So what? Again, I told him, I said, just leave me alone if I'm not the one yelling at you. But he can't leave anything alone because he has to say, you call me, and this is the excerpt of his next email. You call me demented? You, Jim, he's the one who says he's known me since 1995, which is utter. That is some crazy right there. But if he's paying you, keep on
That is some crazy right there.
Fleecing him. What the, like we're all carnies and marks. You're not paying me. We make money with our product, unlike Dave Scherer.
Yeah, we make money, Dave. Why don't you try that sometime with your website?
And also, by the way, he cut me off the elite subscription that they had given me. They comped me a $9.95 subscription for a while. He cut me off about that. And you clearly don't give a fuck about what he says about me, so I don't give a fuck about you either. We have achieved tranquility. And I wrote him back
nuts.
one more time.
Wow, he's fucking nuts.
I wrote him back one more time, and he replied to this, but Dave Scherer, again, seek some help. You have successfully made a giant mountain out of
Oh, my God. That's so funny.
a molehill. You won't leave anything alone, and you have to have the last goddamn word. You were holding up signs with Brian and ECW 30 years ago. He doesn't claim to be your BFF or speak to you weekly, but you've been emailing him. He didn't have any issue with you until the no paywall. If you're going to have the nerve and gall to ask somebody to change the advertising on their unrelated project to make your life easier, quote, then natter on back and forth with me with your panties in a twist because Brian wouldn't email you back to tell you because I asked him not to, then knock him in your column so the entire world knows that there's.
God, Garcia just forearmed a guy, missed him, and then the guy fell forward and tripped over the other guy laying there, and I'm not kidding. I promise you someone will clip it and put it on X.
Issue when otherwise nobody would have given. Expect a shot every now and then, which again was much lighter than he wanted to because I asked him not to. And I said, also, you're a mental case. Here's his quotes are, I was a worker duping the gullible Mark in his email because I was never his friend. I just wanted
I'm your employee.
Publicity or whatever. Keep on fleecing him. Who talks like this?
And then he also said, I'm your employee. You have to pick which way it is. Am I your employee or am I your money mark?
Yeah, or at one point, I asked you to calm your monkey down. You're my monkey.
Hey, that's not nice.
I said, Brian and I are apparently both.
He fleeced me. He's a monkey, see? Dave Scherer's like an old 1920s mobster. I don't even know. 1950s. Oh, see? He goozled me out of some money. I'm going to have to mollywop him.
Carnies fleecing each other somehow, and you too. What the is the matter with you? We're partners and do a successful show because we're the only honest people we know, and we don't obsess like a spurned twat over people that don't email us back. Check the dates of your emails and call them on Brian and any sideways remark about you or your site from us and get back to me. Wait, don't get back to me. Leave me alone. Guess what he did? He got back to me.
Oh my God. No.
He said, you can have the last word, and you did. I was done after I sent my last email. Nothing more to
see. That's what I mean. Like, you can have the last word, and you did, but no, because now you're putting in the last word, bro.
say from me. Okay, one last thing.
Is this real? Is this really real. What he said?
This is real. You said Brian and I are partners and do a successful show because we're the only honest people we know and don't obsess like a spurned twat over people that don't email us back. I'll say one last thing. You know Mike Johnson, and there isn't a more honest person who doesn't obsess in the whole world than Mike. No, Sherlock, what the fuck? He's bringing Mike into it. Now we're knocking Mike in his demented, possibly drug-addled brain. Do they have drugs for dementia? Because Dave's too old to take fun drugs. But wait a minute. And his last line on the email, our paths will never cross again. Oh. I haven't seen this guy in 25 years to begin with.
Oh, my God.
Like it's Gunsmoke.
And I saw that line was in the Honeymooners when they kicked Ralph Cramden out of the Raccoon Lodge. Or no, wait a minute. It was Laurel and Hardy when they were excommunicated from the Sons of the Desert. What this? If you'd have just shut up when we asked you nicely to just don't worry about it. There's no problem. We're not going to change the advertising because it doesn't have anything to do with you. And then he's got to go on a tirade in his column. And then he expects when he gets a few shots, he's emailed me numerous times over I got stuck on PWInsider comment. There was a throwaway joke. And he goes on and on. And finally, for Mike's sake, I didn't want to make the guy mad because who knows with this level of goddamn imbalance he has, what he might do. But after a while, and he's yelling at me for something you said, but I didn't.
Yeah, it's all, you just don't want Jim on your ass primarily too.
Didn't disagree with you and derail the topic because we were in another direction just to goddamn take up for him. You, Dave Scherer, who the fuck do you think you are to be goddamn browbeating me on these emails because you had the gall and the nerve and the audacity to ask a stupid question of somebody that had nothing to do with any of your business. You up the ass, you prick. I'm sick and tired of hearing from a lot of people. And I don't have time to get back to the people I want to get back to.
Well, that escalated quickly.
So I'll do this publicly here. You come over here to Louisville and our paths will cross. And I'll stick my foot up your ass. God damn it. I'm sorry to take your mad away, but this goddamn has lit me the up.
Because you saw it. I'm like, you know how I am. My attitude is live and let live. Everyone should get along, laugh at life. But if someone comes and takes a shot at you, that can't stand. Like, that can't stand. and I let it stand for a while. And because the Meltzer thing was happening, and because people had
but nobody, all they said was Scherer worked with Meltzer. So it's like, okay, why are they jealous? Why? Meltzer's wrong about everything. PWInsider is actually right about. Why was he jealous? No one's proved that anywhere, other than it just seemed like Brian started this all by talking about a dude he didn't like because all this others from before. So yeah,
had sent me Dave Scherer's unhinged tweets about Meltzer, and I wanted people to know in that moment there are people who have an agenda, there are people who make money off all this, and there are some people who literally are just jealous of Dave. Like Dave Scherer has.
My agenda is to play flutes all around the world and make the hit the brown note and all over Dave Meltzer. Like Steve-O in a porta potty.
Always been the lariat. He denies now. He lost his mind denying that Meltzer was his friend. He used to be on the phone with Meltzer every week, giving him lucha reports. He was sending Meltzer tapes. He was with Meltzer at the ECW arena when Dave came, and all of.
Okay, why is he jealous, though? Reveal it now, Brian.
That didn't happen. He now denies it. Obviously, you could hear from just some of the things that Jim read.
Okay, they were friends. Why is he jealous, though? There's nothing to substantiate jealousy. That's all I need to point out about this whole thing. Everything else kind of makes sense now, but the jealous part is like, well, where did that happen? Like, friends fall out, dude. So, like, to just say jealous, why jealousy? Like, how do you know it's not professional or so? Like, I don't know.
Deranged. He's messed up. And I think a lot of it is he truly believed he was better than Dave Meltzer, and he was never able to surpass him.
Thank you for giving me something to go on, whether that's true or not, finally. So he finally reveals he thinks he's jealous because, well, let's back it up, because that's what I was waiting for the whole goddamn time. So here we
He's messed up. And I think a lot of it is he truly believed he was better than Dave Meltzer, and he was never able to surpass him. And look at him now. He's a guy that everyone jokes about. He had to shut off his comments on Twitter because he doesn't want to see some of the comments he'll be getting on Twitter.
I didn't even know you could do that. Yeah, that's right. You can only, if he mentions you or tags you or whatever, you can reply to him.
And, he keeps wanting to get the last word. He's now claiming that I'm lying, and I guess you're lying too, about him threatening to write the hit piece.
We just read it. I will have to address this in my column.
Yeah.
And no, you don't have to address anything because you were making it up. You got something stuck in your craw. You decided you wanted somebody else to change their advertising. You're offended because people don't email you back because that makes you feel less important, because apparently that's a big deal.
Yeah, it all really just stems. That's what it ultimately stems from. Unfortunately, we've revealed. And again, Brian has not triggered me.
Dave. And then he's going to send me all this that I got time to read you again, you fat.
Yeah, you say Brian's trying to take money out of our mouths. I don't want to take anything out of Mike Johnson, but maybe you can go without a few meals, Dave Scherer.
I don't want to take anything out of Dave Scherer's mouth. I'd have to boil it.
And, on that topic, real quick, I've never dealt with Mike Johnson. If we interacted in the 90s.
Yo, we got Orange Cassidy and Aubrey Edwards in the same ring. This should be hilarious.
I don't remember, but I've never had a interaction with him, a bad experience. I've always thought he does a good job of reporting. He seems to be a real hustler. You admire the work that he does trying to get the truth out there. That's the only value there. As I tweeted to him when he was acting like a bitch on Twitter, you should just rebrand. Your brand is worthless. People think of poisonous ads on their computer.
No, I don't think people think of that.
Rebrand as Mike Johnson Reports, while Dave Scherer tries to justify his existence. And on that topic, he accused me of being both your employee and your boss, which is a nifty trick I could do here in my time machine.
It's some kind of tax dodge, I think.
Some kind of tax. Well, no, it's not. For the record, ladies and gentlemen, there is no tax dodge.
There's no dodging of the taxes. No, we support a couple of third world countries with our taxes.
But I was stunned in this whole process to learn that Mike Johnson's not the managing partner over there, because he's the only asset PWInsider has. The name PWInsider doesn't mean Mike Johnson Reports means something. What the f does he get out of Dave Scherer collecting the money and then distributing the money for a website that functions like people laugh at and no one wants to go to unless it's Mike Johnson's reporting? And most of that stuff, there's better ways to do it than that. So, that's the saddest thing, I think. Mike Johnson does a good job, and because it's not even partnered up, because he's working for
At the mercy of.
because he's working for a sissy.
Oh, come on now. Come on now, Brian. That's not very fair. Just call him a sissy like that.
Who is insecure about everything and needs to get publicly spanked because of it. It holds him back. And I hope at some point, Mike Johnson wakes up. Someone after this started sent me a tweet that Dave Scherer had sent out. I guess it's sometime previous when people were saying, hey, what does Mike Johnson get out of this relationship? He said, one day I will in due time turn the website over to Mike Johnson. I just want to say it's valueless real estate. Mike, if you're ever going to have to do it on your own, start now. Start now. You'll be fine. You'll make more money than you're making now, and you won't have the embarrassing dead weight of this mustached weirdo out in Vegas or wherever he is, pretending like he's a big success.
But now here's the thing. One of these days, my boy, all this will be yours. How much older does Mike have to get?
Yeah, really.
Good
He's not a kid anymore either, now that I think about it. Yeah.
No, he's not a kid anymore. You're going to give him.
So is that it or what? Is that about it, guys? Here, we'll finish.
Something?
We're almost there. We're almost home free.
Sounds like one of these days, kid.
Sounds like you're being stringed along. Sounds like, anything you ever want to do, Mike Johnson. I'm not saying you have to come work for me. I'm saying anything you ever want to do. If you need our help, if you need my help specifically, you got it. But get rid of Dave Scherer. Dead weight, worthless website. Your reporting is the only asset. It's the lone asset of PWInsider. The brand means nothing. You can't even call it PWI. That's Pro Wrestling Illustrated. PWInsider. So I think that's part of the issue. Dave Scherer knows he has a dying website.
Look how Aubrey takes the reins of oh man.
Right? And he's not capable of keeping up with everything that's happening in this changing world of wrestling media or just media. And unfortunately, it holds Mike Johnson back. And I mean, I've never had a bad dealing with him. He may not be happy with me about all this.
I know Mike well, and he's a wonderful person and one of the most inoffensive people ever, and takes his job seriously and does work hard, as you said.
The major principal owner of that website, that's the problem. He wants everyone to take him seriously. He's a putz.
I can't believe, from these emails, I can't believe this guy is my age. How does he have this much free time? What the? I'll print it as your California cousin. Find us saying something good or bad about you, for that matter. But find us saying anything bad about your website or anything else related before you decided to go on this tangent about the advertising line and this whole thing up. Sunshine, you the whole thing up.
That's right. And one other thing, if he did this to me, and again, we read the emails, if he came out and said, you will do what I want right here, or I'm going to have to write this, who else has he done that to? He rails against Tony Khan. Did Tony Khan snub him? Like, seriously, if it's going to be a transactional thing, I have to write this unless you...
Yeah, see, I agree with that too. It's like, change the tagline. And it's like, no, like, yeah, exactly. It seems like transactional.
Just happen to change your tagline. If it's going to be that transactional, where does that start and end? Mike Johnson has a lot of credibility. There's no credibility with those kind of practices. So where does that start and end? Who else is paid for positive coverage in one way or another from Dave Scherer? That's a question based on his emails I think needs to be asked right now.
Okay, but now he's just throwing out, like, who's paid him for good coverage? Oh, come on now, Brian. That's not very fair to accuse him of taking money from sponsors. That's my gimmick.
But no one's going to ask you because no one gives a about him. I hope Mike Johnson gets away from Dave Scherer. Dave's a loser holding you back, Mike. If you need any help, just let me know. I'm sure there's plenty of other people who would help you. In case you don't know, and I know you already do.
Oh, yeah, pal. Come right for PWT.
Most people think Dave is a c***. And yeah, we're going to have to bleep that on YouTube, but it is.
Do we have to bleep that he's a see you next Tuesday on YouTube?
What's crazy is that I said a see you next Tuesday earlier in this episode, and I hope to God I can just trim that out later.
We will have to bleep that on YouTube, yes.
Well, shucks. Well, Dave, you're a vaginal orifice.
That's right. But all right, let's get us.
Okay, well, let's see what the comments had to say. That Uzi comment is the most teenage edgelord nonsense ever. This doesn't help the stereotype that wrestling fans are a bunch of weirdos. Love these guys, but sometimes Brian portrays himself like he's an internet tough as Mid-South Dr. Death Steve Williams. I think Brian needs to know his role and shut up, pun intended. This is embarrassing. Jim and Mike Johnson sound like two kids whose dads got into a fist fight at their local baseball game. Brian really is starting to think like his opinion matters just because he talks to Jim Cornette consistently. Brian, my brother in Christ, please stop. We don't care about this garbage. Just stick to reading emails to Jim and apologizing for gardeners that nobody else hears. Yeah, I don't know, guys. Round of applause for all of that. That was just tons of comments.